If I had a dime for every single time that I've been told by a video game, TV show, or movie about the wonders of not giving up, I'd have at least $5 or $6. It's a common trope. The hero's journey must have a low point where all seems lost, and in these moments, the other characters will talk to them about not giving up as if they were a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Excuse me, sir, spare a moment for Date Bio?
It's a good lesson, right? I mean, if Joseph Joestar can be at his lowest, have his hand severed, but still dig down deep enough to interrupt a volcanic eruption with a stone, then using his severed hand to penetrate his enemy's throat, breaking his concentration just enough to allow the blast from said eruption to send his enemy flying into space, then surely I can finish this math quiz. It's really nice of TV to teach everyone about this sort of thing, but I feel it's too easy, so I've taken it upon myself to teach you that not only is it okay to give up, sometimes it's necessary. On top of that, it'll come in the form of a review of a video game that you've never heard of called God Eater Resurrection. Now, I never played God Eater when it was on the PS2 or PSP. My exposure to the series came from the anime that released at the end of last year. The anime was average at best, with flat characters, a non-existent plot, and an overabundance of slow motion. It did have a pretty bitchin' OP, though. 12 episodes, as we all know, are very hard to do in the season that they're ordered for, so the final 3 episodes of the anime were released over 3 months after it started airing. In that time, I managed to play the Japanese demo for the God Eater Resurrection game, which the anime was based on. I couldn't understand anything that was happening in the game, but it did seem fun for a demo. I tried to get into it. I created a character, I gave him a fake backstory since I didn't know what the game's story was, you know, Japanese and all that, but what I played was fine. I figured that the full version of the game would take the demo and expand on it, and if it did that, it'd be a pretty good game. So on release day, I eagerly bought God Eater 2, which came with God Eater Resurrection for free. I put close to 10 hours into Resurrection, and then I realized I had quite the problem. I was 10 hours into a game where I was in constant battle with its obnoxious mechanics. The idea of this game is simple. You create your own chosen one. Meet Vanilla, codenamed Slow-Mo. He is a young boy with obnoxious neon green hair that isn't really blind, but he covers his eyes anyway because he likes the idea of obtaining super hearing. Vanilla is immediately instituted as a God Eater because he has special blood or some shit, I don't know, I don't care. That allows him to wield a God Arc, a big fuck-off sword with a cannibalistic monster living inside of it. God Arcs can be swung like swords, and they also have gun modes. Being a God Eater means that Vanilla must go on missions. As the player, you select the missions you want to tackle, pick the squad you'd like to tackle it with, and then kill all of the monsters. Now, at its best, God Eater Resurrection is a poor man's monster hunter. At its worst, God Eater Resurrection is a poor man's monster hunter. In all of the missions that I did in my playthrough, the objective never really strayed from go to a place and kill all of the monsters in that place. You can upgrade yourself and your squad with meaningless currency that never feels like it actually affects anything. You'll take the same characters with you into every single battle because there is a clear difference in power between all of them, although that power is utterly meaningless. All of the enemies are bullet and sword swing sponges. You'll do absurd levels of damage to them, but you'll be battling the same 4 or 5 monster types for about half an hour at a time for hours on end, and after a while that's just not fun. Most grindfest games have a carrot that's dangled in front of the player to make that grind worthwhile, but God Eater Resurrection just doesn't have one of those. This is some of the most frustrating gaming that I've played all year. Enemies will stun lock you, do ridiculous amounts of damage to you, and it doesn't ever get any better. After 10 hours of hearing poor Vanilla yelp in pain coming into contact with one of these fucking things, I'd realized I'd had enough. There wasn't an intriguing story to keep me going, no characters to latch onto, and besides that, I'd already experienced all of the characters and the story in the anime. And the anime, while nothing to write home about for sure, it did it a lot quicker, and then there was the gameplay that kept my frustration levels very high. So it brings me back to my original point of knowing when it's okay to give up. At some point, your sanity needs to come into play. When a game gives you nothing, but you've made attempts to enjoy it, and it still offers you nothing, it's time to put it aside. I've done all I could reasonably do. I did my due diligence. God Eater Resurrection is a game where I don't know who it would appeal to. There's nothing significant about its gameplay, there's nothing significant or special about any of it. It's just completely forgettable. And I don't like it.